to be an effective coach, you've got to be a leader, you've got to be a motivator, you've got to communicate well, caring for their athletes, sort of showing that they're not just players. You've got athletes that are confident, that they're motivated. The players are the ones that are out there performing. If we're talking about wins and losses and success from an objective standpoint, it's the players.
My name is Daniel Burton. I teach 8th grade English and Social Studies at Batesburg-Leesville Middle School. I'm the head JV football coach at Batesburg-Leesville High School. I'm also the varsity wide receivers coach and assistant strength and conditioning coach at Batesburg-Leesville High School. I grew up here. I played football here. I was fortunate enough to be on, as odd as it sounds, the worst football team in the history of the school. And I was also fortunate enough to, 2 years later, be on the most recent state championship football team for the high school. So I was very fortunate to be a part of that transition, and it kind of really shaped my whole career path and my life.
My name is Kazarius Adams. I go by KZ. I'm from West Columbia, South Carolina. Play football here at South Carolina State University, and I play running back. So I came in as a freshman. I started as a freshman. My very first game, first game starting, I had like 276 yards and like 4 touchdowns as a freshman. So I rushed for 3K in one season. I had over 120 touchdowns. I had like 8,000 yards career. probably like 2,000 yards receiving. I was a Mr. Football finalist. I got selected to the Shrine Bowl. Gatorade Player of the Year nominee. I all state like for 3 years. I've been all region all 4 years in high school. I won a championship my senior year.
I'm Javarius Stevens. Everybody who really knows me as Ja. I'm from Saluda, South Carolina. And with football, man, at first I was like a real basketball guy, you know? And so I realized I wasn't gonna be like 6 feet plus. I was like, okay, football. And that started my freshman year when I really started working out summer workouts with Coach On. And that just made me fall in love with the game of football. And ever since I've been, loving the game. Well, we won state my sophomore year. I think that was 2020. And that was a great experience. And years after that, I've been multiple All-State, All-Lakeland. And luckily, I was given the opportunity to play football here in Newberry.
I'm Stewart Young, from Union, South Carolina. Played football at Union, won 2 state championships at Union. I went to Presbyterian College and played football there. Um, Defensive back, started for 3 years. And then I came to Saluda to be a football coach. The reason I want to be a football coach is because that's really all I ever known. It was always my passion, the sport of football and competition. Uh, Run baseball early, and it was probably my favorite sport as a child, but then football took over. And so I got an opportunity at Saluda to be an assistant coach and ended up being the defensive coordinator after that. And then I was fortunate enough to get the head job 10 years ago. And we were really fortunate 5 years ago to win a state championship here at Saluda for the first time since 1963. So it's been a lot of fun and really enjoyed it.
So my name's Luke Doty. I've been playing football for probably about probably since I was 10, 9 or 10. So long time. Started out in Little League. Went to middle school, high school. Played varsity for 3 years. So had a lot of success there. Won the state championship. My junior year went back. My senior year, but I got hurt in the first round of playoffs, so wasn't able to play. But I was already committed to the University of South Carolina. I've been here for 5 years now, so it's been a long time, but still feels like yesterday that I was playing ball in high school.
My name's Tony Amorose. I'm a professor of exercise science at Illinois State University. Um, my backstory is that I was a wrestler in high school and college. I thought I wanted to be a physical education teacher and a coach. And then early on in my undergraduate degree, I took a sports psychology class, which just really hit me hard. My undergraduate degree was really when I'd say self-determination theory started to become pretty popular. I think at the heart of it, it's a theory designed to understand human motivation and psychological functioning. So I've published a number of research studies that have looked at various aspects of self-determination theory. Mostly what I've been interested in is looking at athlete motivation. One of the primary roles of a coach is to motivate his athletes. To be an effective coach, you've got to be a leader, you've got to be a motivator, you've got to communicate well, you need to understand your athletes, sort of showing that they're not just players, but sort of that the coach is concerned about the person. I think coaches having an open door policy, making sure that they're communicating with their athletes about whatever needs to be communicated about. I think you could talk about the kind of feedback that coaches give, the way they set up players for success, and showing them, improvements, trying to facilitate the needs for competence, autonomy, and relatedness. Coach has control to a certain extent over all those things. A coach can either do things or say things or not do things or not say things that are going to make athletes feel good about their ability, feel like they have some control over what it is that they're doing and whether or not they're connected to the coach and or the other players on the team. So the coach is really central, and the elements of self-determination theory really embed themselves in the relationships that develop in the coach-athlete area. It's not just the coach. You might have a great coach, but if the athletes aren't connected well with the coach, even the coach really knows what they're talking about from an X and O standpoint, that message might get lost if the athletes aren't on board with the coach. So they need to come at this from the coach and I are trying to work together to make this happen. The players are the ones that are out there performing, right? If we're talking about wins and losses and success from an objective standpoint, it's the players that are going to make it or not. And so hopefully they are trying to learn, are motivated to work hard, so on and so forth. So I think obviously their level of motivation, how they're feeling in terms of their confidence and their sense of autonomy and their connection to other people, that they're, not afraid of trying new things and learning and all those kinds of things. I think the performance is going to happen. Most of the research would support this idea that we want athletes to have a sense of control or autonomy because they're much more likely to be motivated. They're much less likely to have a fear of failure. They're much less likely to get burnout, so on and so forth, which would all be things that would take away from performance. So do I think SDT would help win games? I think it can, right? Again, I think it wouldn't be directly related to performance or directly causing variations in performance, right? I think it's what we can pull from SDT would help set the stage for this climate where athletes are primed to perform at a high level. And I think self-determination theory has some elements of it that can help that.
One way that we try to empower our players to have input in our game planning situation is, we encourage them to watch film. Unfortunately, a lot of times, especially with unsuccessful teams, they do not watch film, so they can't give that constructive input. But I think what our players see is that, usually when we are more successful is when we have more eyes watching film, so they are able to have input in that. In-game type situations, that looks like getting feedback from the guys on the field when they come to the sideline, right? We're just watching. We're not out there playing. They have, their senses and everything. They get to give us that good information and that input. Especially guys like your quarterback or your inside linebacker, they need to be able to give you that information. That's why they're in those positions. And ultimately, what they feel most confident doing is probably what you should be doing. So just empowering your players, giving them the tools to digest information and produce information. This past year, JV ball, we had a quarterback that was a pretty savvy guy. So in those situations, we did allow him to have input and to provide feedback for us as a ninth grader as to, what call do you want here? What do you feel confident doing? In one particular game against Fairfield Central, it was late. We're up a touchdown. What play do you want? Do you feel confident doing for us to go ahead and put this thing away? And, we took kids' feedback. We ran the play. And props to him, it actually took the ball out of his hands. And we scored a long touchdown on it, went up 14 and ended up winning the game by 14 points and kind of sealed it off. So just empowering your guys to know that that they do know ball and they can help make decisions, I think is a huge part of that.
The coaches really help with communication because either timeout, halftime, they will ask us, like, what do we see on the field? Because we're the ones actually on the field. And they would like to know, like, what we actually see. And we were able to communicate with them, which would help us win games.
You have to be able to trust each other and allow them to tell you some things that are going on, because they're out there, they hear things, they see things that you don't see off the sideline. And so you have to be able to trust those guys and create an environment that they feel comfortable in saying, hey, coach, we need to think about this or that, that kind of thing.
We would always answer us like, what coverage do we see from the defense? Because on offense, I played receiver. So what coverage would we see from the defense? If it was man, we had specific plays to beat man coverage. Or if it was zone, say like a cover 3 or a cover 2, we had specific plays that could beat those coverages. Coach, he, even all the time, film study, off of the field, he asks us things like, what do we think? What do we think will help us win the game? What strategy we should go with? And he knows to basically just get the ball in the hands of his best players, and that'll help him win games. This is a big game. This is my sophomore year. This is the game to go to state, and we played against our rival, Abbeville, up there in Abbeville. And Abbeville, they had got us on some run plays. It was this reverse play that they actually scored a touchdown on earlier in the game. Because at the end of the day, we kind of figured they were running again because it was so successful during the game, and we were able to stop it. And to get a stop on them, and with the offense that we had, we knew we had a good chance to win the game.
In the Upper State Championship 2019, we played a team for the second time. They beat us by 4 touchdowns the first time. We played them again for the Upper State Championship. So some players that I trusted came to me and said, Coach, we feel like we can see where they're going to run the ball, especially on first down, coming out of our huddle. And so that night we allowed that linebacker, or those 2 linebackers, to kind of make the defensive call on their own, because we trusted them enough to know that we felt like they was, true with what they were saying, and it seemed to work out.
Maybe the play call was kind of maybe off on defensive wise, maybe. And sometimes you just have to check. You obviously Coach Bear, that's my like my best friend, like one of my best friends. But let's say if he would have messed up a call or something, which was probably ever. But let's say if he would have like messed up a call, and we was like, hey, that's not gonna work. Obviously, we're gonna listen to him and do our job, but more importantly, we're gonna obviously do our leeway a little bit also, just because we on the field. From what I'm saying, is different from what he's saying because he's on the sideline watching. So maybe I'd be like, hey, let's go the other way. Let's check. Let's check left. So yeah, it's been a couple of times it's been like that. I mean, it's not like I did it often. Obviously, I run every play that they give me, or or what have you. But I just knew, like, if it's just stagnant, we going this way, and everybody on that side, oh no, we got to check this way. And which it was really cool with it, because most of the time I probably scored off what I did. Some yeah.
It was either the lower state championship my junior year. We were playing the team that we lost to in the regional championship. So this is like the fourth round of the playoffs. We're playing the team that we had lost to a couple weeks ago. So we all had a chip on our shoulder, and there were a few plays here and there that we just kind of the players took into our own hands. And really made them just come to life. Obviously, we got the call on the sideline and stuff, and we went out there and we executed it. But there were the little intricacies of them that we had worked up to that point. We just made them come to life, and it was calls on the field where I'm looking out there to the receiver and kind of giving them a heads up, like, hey, I know we haven't like. We're not supposed to throw this ball, but like I'm going to throw this ball. And we were on the same page. So I would have some say in the decisions that were being made, the calls that were being made. But I think that just goes along with the trust and how we were able to communicate with each other. My high school coaches were awesome. They did a good job of when something was wrong or there was an issue somewhere somehow. They let us handle it first as players, the leaders, the older guys on the team. We were able to handle it first before it got to the coaches. And if it somehow got to the point where the coaches got to it first, they would look at us as the leaders and the older guys and kind of ask us why it had happened. And so they really put a lot of responsibility on us, but in the end, it was why we had so much success, and had the runs that we had down the line of the playoffs.
You're gonna have leaders and you're gonna have followers, and so a lot of times you want to try to create more leaders than followers, and by creating and helping them create leadership, just giving them some leeway to be able to communicate amongst themselves, talk after practice. Then you find one player that had a really good practice and you allow them to, break down the end of the practice and have the last word. And so our players always get the last word at the end of practice. Coach finished talking, the players the last one to speak. And letting them know that they're kind of in charge at that moment, and that gives them the ownership. Other small things that gives them ownership could possibly be, let those guys pick out the uniform for the week, or let those guys pick out what kind of music they're going to listen to at practice, or that kind of thing. Ask them when they want to do the conditioning before practice or after practice. Those kind of things give us some ownership, and I think ownership leads to being able to communicate.
My coaches always spoke greatly of me, spoke words of encouragement to me. Coach Young, Coach Newton, Coach Webb, they always instill confidence in me. And I feel like the confidence also helped with the hard work that I put in during the season, the off season. After my sophomore year, after we won state, we had like 20 plus seniors leave, right? So he needed players and people to fill that leadership role. And I feel like I was one of the main players he looked to fill that role. And for me to be a leader on and off the field for my teammates and help us be successful. I think of myself as more of a person who leads by example. So just doing things the right way at practice, practicing my hardest and giving like full effort instead of just giving half effort and saving it for Friday night. I was always giving it my all and trying to help my teammates get better.
A couple big things a coach can do to kind of help encourage players to step up and be leaders is, number one is intentional development of leadership. So plan things in the off season, in the summertime, where your players can interact and compete with one another, and give guys that opportunity to step up and be a leader. And that takes sometimes stepping back as a coach, right? And seeing, okay, who's going to step up, who's going to be that leader. With older teams, with older guys, sometimes that turns out better. With younger athletes, you may need more guidance from the coach to show them what leadership looks like. It's not cussing guys out. It's, come on, man, we've got to do better. And kind of that positive reinforcement instead of negative.
The most important thing is to lead with love. That's so important because obviously, like when you're down in an adversity strike, that's going to tell you everything about you and your team. Like, are you going to give up and quit? Are you going to yell at your teammates, or are you going to try to motivate them to, to get better or to be better in that situation? So, like I said, more of that, just leading with love, because you don't understand that can really help and change someone and change the game. I never yelled at my linemen, none of that, because obviously, it's like if they messed up, I already know the coach when they get at them. So why would I yell at them? You know what I mean? So obviously, I'm just leading with love. Hey, look, man, get there next time. You good? Just next play. Don't worry about it. It's over. Just being there, just to, love up on them and just give them extra motivation to, be better. And so is me also.
How my coach motivated us then and how I motivate our kids now is actually the same answer. And that is that luckily we play at, and the kids now play at, a place that has a lot of tradition in the sport of football. Their dads, their uncles, their older brothers played here. They won state championships here. And what I found is that for our kids is the most powerful motivator, period. And so to remind them of that often, that, you're bred from winners, you're bred for this, you belong in these situations, you can beat these big schools, these teams. That reminder is often the most powerful thing. The beautiful part about this particular coach that we won the state championship with, there was never one moment in the 2 years that I was fortunate enough to play for him that I did not know what was expected of me. From the very first moment I met him to the day that he walked out the door to take his next job, everything was communicated clearly, concisely. We were reminded of it daily. His slogans were on our shirts. It was on banners in the locker room. It was repeated daily at practice. We never had to question what his rules were, his morals, our culture. None of that was ever in question. And I think all of that clear communication is what empowered us and made us as competent as we were, because we knew our assignments. We knew what the expectation was. And we just never had to doubt that. And I think as a young man maturing into an adult, I think that is an awesome thing to have, because there are so many questions that we have to figure out every day. For 3.5 hours of football practice, there were no questions. You knew what the deal was.
A lot of times motivation comes easy to coaches, and I'm not, trying to toot my horn, but I feel like that's one of my strengths. I'm not the greatest X and O coach. I'm not the greatest, but I think I can motivate. And some of the examples of, read books and find out some things other coaches do. So it's okay to steal some motivational tactics from other coaches. And then, a lot of times you got to read the room. You got to get to know your kids so you'll know what makes them tick. All right. And some teams tick by, getting stuff, giving them hats or shirts. And some teams tick by, get all fiery, give them a fiery speech, and so you got to just kind of know what's making that team tick. And sometimes it ticks a different way of doing the season. You play it depends on your opponent too. Sometimes playing an inferior opponent is harder to motivate than it is playing a superior opponent. Try to avoid the letdown. So you got to think of different ways. You got to know when to use them. I had a kid dunk a basketball in their PE class one day. I called him over to the side and I said, not many people in this school can dunk basketballs. I said, that shows that you can run and jump and you're athletic enough. I said, that shows me right now that you should have the ability to go out here and produce on Friday night. And he ended up kind of doing that. And I think maybe him thinking that way, yeah, if I can do that, why can't I do it out here on the grass? So, he's constantly figuring out ways to make them confident in themselves.
You got to believe that you're the best when you're out there. And obviously, there's been plenty of moments where maybe I wasn't confident, obviously, when I was a freshman, because obviously I'm just going against these big dudes. So moments, some games, I'm like kind of nervous, but which is cool. You got to be nervous too.
Just walking into the huddle and looking those guys in the eyes, and just even in the midst of all of the crazy stuff going on, whistles blowing, people screaming, just being able to look at those guys in the eye, talk in a very confident and confident and calm voice, being the voice of reason. I think that really goes a long way, and it brings a lot of the nerves down when you're in those high pressure situations. So they know that, all right, when this guy steps into the huddle, he means business and he's going to take care of us. And that's something that I try to live by. Just being that voice of calm and collectiveness in the midst of the crazy storm that's going on around us. I think there was always a closeness, connectedness of every team that I was on in high school, both sophomore, junior, and senior year. But I would just something that stands out to me was my relationship that I had with the offensive line, just being able to have open communication with them, being able to tell them, kind of what I expected out of them, and they knew that and knew that I was very upfront about it, and they responded well to it. But same went with the receivers and running backs and pretty much everybody on that offense. There was a standard, and not only I communicated that, but the coaches communicated it, and we were all, very willing to pour ourselves into it and really make it come to life. Me and my offensive coordinator back in high school, we were really tight. So I spent, I think, a whole summer over at his house, the season before my junior year, building a relationship with him, watching film for at least 2 or 3 hours a day, and just kind of, building that connection, building that bond of trust.
And that team right there was just so special because, we ain't never, I guess, dissed a player or, when we seen a player down, we helped them up. That was a true, family. We literally, that was literally sweat and blood right there. So, obviously tears when we won, too. So, everybody it was like a big family right there.
One team, one family, one tiger. That's the saying.
Our team motto is one team, one family, one tiger. We got that from a player. That's player led. All of our traditions right here, I don't think you can create traditions because then they'll seem delegitimate. I think it's got to be created on its own. We come out in the purple smoke. That was a player's idea. We come out to all the lights on the radio. That's the player's idea. Our team motto was the player's idea. But then again, we do things to try to incorporate family throughout. Sometimes I go to the weight room and I say, everybody in here has got to high five everybody in here before this weight room day's over with. And hadn't done that in a while. Probably didn't bring that one back. But it just gets them closer. A team that closer usually can put out the victory when they need it. We have kids pick kids up, taking the workouts and make sure they're not, they're we've had kids. I've had kids run off in the practice field when they realize that the person's in their stretch line working there, and he was, they go jump in the. I've had them run in the car and take off and go find them. Then we've had injured players that couldn't play the next game. We had one this past year. Another player wore his jersey to play in that game and to show his support. So we've had incidents like that. Yeah.
I think you, again, need to be very deliberate about doing things like having team bonding activities, take his kids bowling, stupid, small things like that to make them exist around one another, get to know one another, feel comfortable with each other. And ultimately that builds friendships. And if you can build friendships, then you're going to build a pretty good football team. The year we won the state championship, I think that summer we did more non-football related things together than probably any other off season I've been a part of as a player or a coach. We went and saw a movie together. We went bowling. We went out to eat. We did a 2 or 3 day camp here that was football, but there was plenty of downtime programmed into that to deliberately allow us to communicate with each other, to hang out, to just be kids and be friends with one another outside of the sport of football. And I think that truly is what made us be so successful, because it allowed us to really care for one another.
Being able to be with your team outside of a football environment, whether that be in the weight room, doing team runs, going out and going out and playing golf with them, just really anything that doesn't have to do with football, because that also goes a long way with building a relationship with your teammates, is like taking them outside of a context of football, because obviously we're in here a lot. That's what we do on a daily basis, but spending time and really getting to know them outside of the world of football, that really goes a long way. And I've seen that done in my high school career and in the time I've been here at South Carolina. So there's a ton of great friends that I still keep up with back home, that I played with, and still guys here that I keep up with that aren't here anymore, but they're either in the league or they're they have a job out in the real world. I still keep up with them, but it's because of the relationships that we built back when we were playing.
Every week we'll have some type of event on Fridays, just a team bonding event, whether we're upstairs in the field house. We have games. It'll be college football season, so we can watch college football together. And even before we went to my position coach's house, so like our guys in the position, we went to his house, met his family, and they fed us, spent time with his kids, stuff like that. So us just regularly hanging out anytime, like during the summer, during the season, like some of my best friends were on the football team. And even guys I didn't know, we quickly became friends and built chemistry with each other just by hanging out with each other.
One year we went and there was a church being built in town, and they needed some help moving a whole bunch of furniture. And I said, guys, we're not going to work out today. We're going to ride down the road and help these people out, because they've been good to us. And so they spent that entire workout moving big old slabs of wood and big old couches and things like that, and having to communicate with each other on who's going to take this side and that side of the couch and move it around or whatever. So we've done some things like that. We've taken them on to different all-day events, some camps and things like that. We've had an overnight stay one night, just so everybody was there right before football camp. So we've done a variety of things over the years to try to build that.
Yeah, so every year, starting my junior year, we did it my junior and senior year. In the summer, we had all the position groups, so the offensive line, the skill guys, the defense, like we had everybody. And we broke it up over the course of a couple days, like week or two. But we would have everybody over to my house, and my parents put together like a big meal. So we catered like pizza or wings, chicken nuggets, like whatever it was. But we would have all the guys over at my house, break bread, have fun, hang out in the living room, hang out on the porch, and just really get to experience some time together outside of football. I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, like getting to know everybody and have a relationship with everybody outside of just being on the field with them and playing ball with them. And I think that really went a long way, just in the things that we were able to accomplish. Everybody knew that they could trust each other, and everybody knew that the guy next to them had each other's back. So I think that was one of the best things that I've been a part of as far as team building goes, because we did have a lot of success those 2 years. And I think it really started there when everybody was in one place together, having a good time, goofing off, and just being able to enjoy each other's company outside of football.
Go back to relationships once again. I think when you're talking about kids communicating and trusting and supporting each other, you support somebody around, and if you can build around, you can build support and you can build trust.
First off, you need a lot of discipline. You got to have discipline. You got to have the camaraderie around the team, and everybody got to believe. So, like our Coach Barry, he always tells us, like, you got to dig deep, and which is, you got to have discipline first. You got to have integrity. You got to have God. I mean, you got to believe in something, whatever you believe in. So dedication, effort, execution, and you got to have a little bit of pride in that aspect of wanting to become a champion and trying to win. So, yeah.
I think to win games more than anything else, it takes discipline. And at the heart of that discipline is the communication of the standard. And I think if you do not communicate that standard early and often and always, that you can't be successful because you can't have discipline. Discipline is the building block of every ounce of success any individual person has in life. And so if you want a group of people to be successful, they have to have discipline, and they have to be obsessed with having that discipline and having that success and being great, or they'll never achieve anything.
I feel like for one, it starts at the top. So your coaching staff, how does the coaching staff really care about their players? They have to really care about their players, because the coaches players each and every day. Because sometimes, especially high school athletes, they're gonna make the same mistakes like over and over and over. So sometimes you think like, God, I just coached him on this. Why is he still making the same mistake? So the coaches, they have to be patient and they have to really care for their player. That's one thing. And you have to have players on the team are team first players, team first guys who put the team before themselves, so they can't be selfish. And each player, they have to, like I said, understand their role on the team, and each guy has to contribute.
Well, let's state the obvious. You've got to have talent. I think the most talented team going to win most of the time. However, if the talent's even or close to even, then becomes relationships within the team, I think, matters, because the team that trusts each other the most and the team that plays the hardest for each other, then we got to get some luck too. There's a lot of luck. Football, to me, to win a big time season, have a big time season or a championship, you got to be lucky, you got to be healthy, you got to be good. I think those three things are important. But being a family is very crucial.
I think it takes real relationships with your teammates, trust in both your coaches and your coaches trusting you, and really just tuning everything out and focusing on the main thing. Our old offensive coordinator, my freshman year, he had a phrase that I live by to this day. Lock the doors and ignore the noise was what it was, which basically just means all we have is the people in this building and nothing else matters. So none of the noise, and the noise is the critics, the media, the newspaper writers, all the people that aren't inside this building that have no idea what's going on. And that goes for high school too. Like the people outside of the team, the coaches and the staff members have no idea what's going on inside those lines, inside the locker room, inside the weight room. The only people that truly know what's going on are the people involved. And that's who matters. And I think once everyone realizes that and really buys into that, there's no stopping it. There's no stopping the team from succeeding in any way that they want to.